Erik Horne here with Brett Dawson after the Thunder's 126 to 125 overtime loss to the Denver Nuggets. Brett, the Thunder's been doing some things poorly all season. One of them is shoot free throws.
Yep.
Every now and then they have bits and bouts of not finishing well at the rim. They did both of those tonight poorly, and it cost them once again in a game that they needed to have.
Yep, a game they really needed to have. They missed 11 free throws, I think it was, 14 of 25. This is the 11th time this season the Thunder has been under 60% from the free throw line in a game. That's an atrocious number, under 60. I mean, it's not like you're talking about under 70 or under 80. A rough night there. Really struggled to finish inside. Whether that was Denver's defense, probably not. Denver's defense really isn't very good. Whether that was a little bit of fatigue from the second night of a back-to-back, whether it was just rushing some stuff inside. Hard to say exactly. Combination of a lot of factors. But couldn't get anything going inside. A weird night. You're playing a Denver team that isn't great defensively. You set a franchise record with 23 pointers, and you lose the game.
Yeah, you hit 23 pointers in a game where you say before the game that the Thunder's going to make 23 pointers. You expect it to be a win.
Yep.
But they shoot, under 45% within 5 feet of the rim. Westbrook, for all the great things he did in this game, he had 33 points, I think 13 assists. Didn't finish at the rim late in the game. Then possession goes back to Denver. And then the Thunder, misses free throws down the stretch. Paul George misses a free throw with 15 seconds left in regulation. Corey Brewer misses a free throw in overtime. Paul George intentionally misses another free throw to try to get the ball back, but the Brewer miss was a big one for them too. So, the Thunder hustled. They played hard.
Mm-hmm.
They did all the things in terms of the effort that they needed to do, except when it came down to doing, the most fundamental thing in basketball, making free throws, which the Thunder hasn't done all season. They're 29th in the league in free throw percentage. They couldn't do it.
Yeah, and it's weird. I hate to use the word worry or whatever, but this gives you some pause about this team. It's a game they desperately needed to win, and they really didn't play poorly. They just don't find ways to win games. I mean, that's the weird thing about them. They've been in so many of these games lately where, they win at Toronto, and Billy Donovan talks about the great poise and the way they finish down the stretch, and then Boston, Portland, San Antonio, this game, they're just not able to do those things. And it makes you wonder, because now it's not off the table that this team's going to miss the playoffs. It's unlikely. They're still more likely to get in than not, but this is not an easy road to finish out, and they have not played like a team that is going to finish out games that they have to do that in.
Yeah, too many tiebreakers have been lost and head-to-head. This is another one tonight. Denver's not in the playoffs as of now. They're in 10th. But this is a team that the Thunder's lost to 3 times this season out of 4. They also have lost tiebreakers to Minnesota. There's a tiebreaker still in play with San Antonio that they probably will lose that has all kinds of moving parts. Portland's done. New Orleans is a lost tiebreaker, even though you're going to New Orleans on Sunday in another critical game in the standings. The only team that they have a tiebreaker against of significance is Utah.
Yeah.
And, the Clippers are another team that's on the outside looking into the playoffs that they have a tiebreaker against. But, really, they don't have a lot of advantages when it comes to the teams that they're battling for playoff position.
Yeah, right. I mean, and they could end up in a situation where they're tied with Utah. Any number of things can still happen. There's just so many scenarios now. But, look, we wouldn't have expected them to lose this game even on the second night of a back-to-back. They have now been on a stretch where they've just lost so many winnable games at a time when they really need to win. And, look, they got some help this week. They had a good week outside of their own games. If they could have won a couple of games, they were in a really good position. You lose 2 like this. You lose both halves of this back-to-back, and you've put yourself in a tough spot.
Brett, what do you think about Carmelo Anthony supposedly removing himself from coming back into the game late in the fourth quarter when Jeremy Grant was catching fire? I think Jeremy Grant had 9 of his 16 in the fourth.
Yep, made a 3-pointer in the corner with 2:22 to play. Put the Thunder up by 6, and you kind of think they're probably going to win the game at that point. 6-point lead with a little more than 2 minutes to go. I think that was probably going through Carmelo's head. I believe he did take himself out. It looked like it to me. I was sitting there when he shook his head and walked back to the bench. It looked like he said, let him stay in there. Interesting that Carmelo Anthony was happy to do it, talked about why he did it, the way you can kind of create confidence in those guys, those role player type guys, but also said he wanted to be out there for the last play of regulation. Billy Donovan didn't put him back in, and he said, I leave that's up to coach. That was his decision. That didn't sound like he was thrilled with that decision. He didn't raise a lot of hell about it, but he didn't seem ecstatic about it either. So that might be a little something to watch going forward. I'm not sure how happy he was about that situation, but I didn't make a big thing of him doing it for Jeremy Grant. Though Carmelo said he's never done it that late in a game before, he said he has done it. And Grant was playing well, and look, Carmelo's been criticized for his play late in games. Probably thought at that point I can take it easy. We're going to win the game, and I don't have to worry about it.
No, and frankly, Carmelo Anthony played well tonight. I mean,
He did.
the Thunder's defense in the first 3 quarters really wasn't good at all as a team.
Mm-hmm.
They gave up, I think, 92 points through 3 quarters. But Melo had 23 points. He came back in overtime, had a key 3 in overtime. He really didn't play poorly. Just the Thunder just once again didn't do the little things they needed to do to close out a game, and it's been a recurring theme all season for this team. That they more often than not have not closed out these games when needed at critical junctures. Here's some post-game video from Billy Donovan, Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, and Paul George.